impacting childhood obesity. One second. Okay, so I also have a small, so I'll be talking about a whole lot of things. I'll be talking about what are the risk factors for childhood obesity. I'll be talking about what are the consequences of childhood obesity, some really painful, psychologically painful consequences. And of course, I will be talking about how we can prevent it and how we can manage it. Okay. And I really want you to understand that this webinar is not so much about, not at all, in fact, about the medical factors in childhood obesity, but psychological factors. And you, my dear parents, will realize how much power you have to effect changes in your child's life, in your child's diet, to be able to prevent childhood obesity. I know that for a lot of you, the concern might be the complete opposite. Your concern might be कि मेरा बच्चा खाना ही नहीं खाता है. I completely understand that. And it is still important to attend this webinar for that reason, because sometimes in our desire to feed our kids anything that they would eat, we end up making a lot of mistakes. So this webinar is not just for preventing childhood obesity, it is also for helping parents Huzaifa. Sorry, can you please mute yourself?
Yeah.
Thank you. This webinar is not just for obesity per se, but it's also for helping your child develop a healthy relationship with food and with their own bodies. Okay, so I'm just going to now, I'm actually going to switch off my camera now because I want you to focus on what it is that I'm talking about. And okay, yes, I hope you can see my screen. And at any point of time, if you have any question, you can always just type it in the chat, and Priya will let me know of all the questions in the end. So as I said, today I'll be talking a little bit about who are the children who are more at risk for childhood obesity. I'll be talking about what happens when a child is diagnosed as having obesity. It is not the same as being overweight, which means weighing too much. Childhood obesity basically means having too much body fat, and it is calculated through body mass index, right? BMI. Okay, then I'll be talking about prevention, which means what is it that parents, that you all can do to not just prevent childhood obesity, but also to manage it. Suppose and so it's actually the same. What you do to prevent it is exactly what you do to manage it as well. So I'll be really clubbing it under the same head. And then of course at the end I'll be taking questions, but it is very important that while I'm talking, if a question comes to your mind, please type it in the chat so that I can take it up at the end. Okay, so as I said, obesity means in adults or children means having too much fat. Okay, it is not the same as being overweight, which means weighing too much. In India, actually, obesity is becoming much more common in childhood. Okay, and the figures stand at 19%. So 19% of all children in India are diagnosed as having childhood obesity, and most often it begins between the ages of 5 and 6, and in adolescence as well. Now, what are these risk factors? Risk factors means these are the factors which will put your child at more of a risk of developing obesity. And what are these factors? Family factors, which means that if people in your family, if you or your partner or the child's grandparents are overweight or obese themselves, the child is much more likely to have extra body fat. Okay, this is also true. Now, this is not only, it's not just genetic factors, but genetic factors are always, they always combine with environmental factors to produce any kind of a disease or disorder, which means that if your child has a genetic risk, but he's also being brought up in an environment where high calorie foods are always available and physical activity is not encouraged, then that also becomes a risk factor. So family factors obviously means a combination of genetic factors and environmental factors. And of course, lifestyle factors, which I'm talking about, then environmental factors are mainly two. They are basically diet and exercise. Now, what about diet? We'll talk about this in much more detail later, but just briefly touching upon this here. Regularly eating very high calorie foods, can cause your child to gain weight. And what are these foods? What are these high calorie foods? What are these processed foods? We will be talking about that today in detail. Of course, I mean, some things that I'm sure you can name off the top of your head, fast food, candy, chocolate, desserts, deep fried stuff. Of course, all of this can cause weight gain. But there is, research, the evidence that research shows to us, it points much more to all those sugary drinks and colas and packaged fruit juices and sport drinks, and all of those things are actually worse off, right? So that's about diet. Now, what about exercise? Now, children who don't exercise much are much more likely to gain weight because obviously they don't burn as many calories. And these are the very children who spend too much time in sedentary activities, which means just sitting down at one place, whether it's attending online classes or watching television or playing computer games. All of this are sedentary activities, and this also contributes to the problem. Another problem with watching too much TV, screen time. Of course, I've already done a session with Kartula Health India on screen time, exclusively on screen time, and I have quite a few videos on my YouTube channel, The Therapist Mommy, on that. So, of course, if that is a concern, then you can always refer to those videos. But a main problem with watching, TV, too much TV for kids, and why is that related to childhood obesity, is because not just because the child is not moving when they're watching TV, but also because TV often shows it features ads for unhealthy foods. All those Kinder Joy, chocolate, packet juices, and all of that, stuff, is the ads are actually, they tempt children. And after seeing those ads, only they tell their parents, what, I want to buy this, kind of a thing, right? So that is also another reason why watching too much TV is not good. Of course, there are psychological factors, which is the major thrust of today's talk. What are these psychological factors, which might enhance your child's risk for obesity? These could be personal factors. Your child's temperament is such that they are much more predisposed to feeling shame, feeling teased. And shame is one of the biggest factors in childhood obesity and adult obesity. And what I mean by shame, suppose a child is overweight. They're not obese yet, but they're overweight. And everybody teases them, moti, moti, this, that, it actually has a very, very negative impact on the child's self-esteem. And I'm talking from clinical experience. I actually had a 8-year-old girl who came to me whose parents brought me for consultation. And when I took the history, that girl broke down crying, saying that, what, every time my classmates used to tease me, calling me Moti, I would just go home and binge, because that's the only way she knew how to stuff up her painful feelings. She did not know how to deal with those painful feelings of being teased and bullied and called all kinds of names. So it's extremely important to focus on what our children are going through. The other day, I was in consultation with a parent, this father, who gave me the entire history of her child. And then he said that, what, I would like you to meet my daughter as well in the next session. And I was like, sure. And I gave him some suggestions as to what to do, about screen time, physical activity, blah, blah, blah. In the next session, when I met his daughter, she told me something that the father had not even mentioned. She told me how badly she was bullied in her school when she was just in seventh grade, and how she still carries the scars. She's an adolescent now, and how she still carries the scars of all that teasing and bullying, which, her parents are completely unaware of. She did not tell her parents, and even though she's otherwise such an expressive child. So what I'm trying to emphasize with all of this is that stress, being bullied, being teased, being called names, not knowing how to manage all those painful emotions, not knowing how to manage these social situations, can also increase a child's risk for obesity, because then it forms a vicious cycle. Yeah. The child may overeat to cope with the problems or to deal with the emotions like stress. And in fact, if your child sees the parents doing that, if the child sees that, what, when mama is stressed, all she does is reach for a pint of ice cream in the fridge, or when my daddy's upset, all he does is plonk himself in front of the TV and binge watches Netflix. That is what our children are learning as well. right? That this is how we cope with stress, and not through, if I'm stressed, I will probably go play a game of baddie, or I'll go running, or I'll talk to someone about my problems, right? So how you deal with stress has a big impact on your body as well, right? And how you cope with problems, right? And of course, this is not to discount the fact that some people, children and adults alike, also eat to fight boredom. And some people just eat because they're bored, and that is also actually a risk factor. Okay, two more other risk factors, and then we'll move on, are, of course, medical factors that I will not be touching upon today because I'm not a medical doctor, and socioeconomic factors. What are socioeconomic factors? For example, of course, you would assume that in rich families, upper socioeconomic strata, obesity is more common because there are more access to high calorie foods, and you would always have food around you. But actually, recent research shows that that's not true anymore in India. In India now, middle classes are also catching up on childhood obesity because of globalization, and all sorts of packaged foods being available, being cheap, easy access, lined in our grocery stores as soon as we step inside a mall or a store. So easy access of these high calorie food items, processed food items, to the middle class is also now contributing to obesity in the middle class, right? So it's not a problem of the hi-fi and rich anymore, unfortunately. Okay, so now let's quickly talk about, I've already sort of touched on this, but what are the consequences of childhood obesity? There are many, many, many physical problems, medical problems that can arise out of this. It can cause, childhood obesity can cause type 2 diabetes. The way your child's body uses glucose or sugar. A poor diet can cause your child to develop a high cholesterol or high blood pressure. Basically, if your child has a poor diet, it can over time contribute to the buildup of plaque in the arteries, which can cause arteries to narrow and harden. And of course, this can also in the future possibly lead to a heart attack or stroke, later in life. Joint pain, children who are overweight and then are diagnosed as having obesity, all that extra weight causes extra stress on their hips and knees. And in fact, it can even cause pain and sometimes injuries. And these are the very children who, even if they walk for a kilometer, they can sometimes injure their knee or their back or their hips. Also, asthma is a very common problem in children who are overweight. Overweight and obese children are also very highly likely to develop this condition called obstructive sleep apnea, which is a very serious disorder. Basically, what happens is the child is sleeping and the breathing repeatedly stops and starts. So you can imagine how fatal it can be, right? I mean, if you're sleeping and you stop breathing, you can die, right? So obstructive sleep apnea is also a problem that, children who are obese can develop. Then fatty liver disease is, basically it just means fatty deposits build up in the liver. And
yeah. Ma'am, would you please repeat just now what you said? Sleep
obstructive sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is a very serious disorder which happens both in adults and in children, but it's not only childhood obesity is one of the reasons why this can happen, or an obstructive sleep apnea can develop. And in that disorder, child's breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. Okay. Then I'll come to the last one, fatty liver disease, it is called actually non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD. In adults, when this disorder happens, usually it happens because of excessive alcohol intake. But actually, this disorder can happen in children also. That is why it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which means in the absence of consumption of alcohol, also this can happen. And this can happen in children. One of the factors causing it is childhood obesity, because then fatty deposits start to build up in the child's liver. And this can result in liver damage. So again, this is also a very serious disease. So all of these are medical problems that a child who is obese can face. And at the same time, I mean, I gave you a glimpse of the kind of psychological problems that a child who is obese can have, right? Low self-esteem, depression. The girl that I was talking about, the 8-year-old girl, she actually came to me with childhood depression. Actually, the problem was not obesity at all. She actually came with childhood depression, because she was having crying spells, she was not able to sleep, she was not able to eat, she was not able to concentrate, she was not able to attend her online classes. And when I started understanding her issues, the first thing that came out was the teasing and the bullying, and the second thing that came out was teasing and bullying because of her obesity. And so obviously the work that I'm doing with her right now is targeting everything, pretty much everything that you see in the box on the right. We're trying to enhance her confidence and her self-esteem. We're obviously working on her depressive cognitions. We're working on her anxiety. She doesn't want to attend online classes anymore. Even then, she is being teased. We're working with the school now to also, have these awareness and education programs. We're dealing with so therefore we're dealing with the stigma, and we're checking her quality of life. We're helping her enhance her quality of life. So what I'm trying to say is, let's not look at being overweight or being obese as just a physical or a medical problem. It can have very, very deep psychological roots and can impact a child for literally the rest of their life. Okay, now let's come to the major part of what I want to address you guys with today, which is basically what can we do about it. Okay, and I'm going to spend some time here, and I want you all to listen to this carefully, because prevention of childhood obesity starts right from infancy, right from when your child is a baby. Okay, and equally important is the way you would lead your own life. I mean, I'm sure that's a no-brainer to most of you. Okay, so I'm going to first talk about what you can do with infants, then I'm going to talk about what you can do with your toddler or preschooler, which is approximately 2 to 5 years of age. Then I'm going to talk about what you can do with your primary or middle schooler, and then I'm going to specifically address teens, because there are some things that you can do with teenagers which can really impact the way they develop a relationship with food and their body. Okay, and again, I want you to think about the stuff that I'm talking about, and ask me lots and lots of questions. There's also, as I said in the beginning, a little quiz at the end. So you obviously want to pass at that quiz, right? All right. So what you can do with your infant, and sorry, as I mentioned before, although this is talking about prevention, but the same things you will do most of the same things you will do even when the child is already obese and you want to manage it. Okay, so, and these are all from a very psychological point of view, but also diet and lifestyle related point of view as well. Okay, so with your infant, breastfeeding is has been found in research to be a very important factor for preventing childhood obesity. Now, of course, most of you might know this, breastfeeding carries with it a host of other benefits. It is like one of the best things that you can do with your child. Even if you're not able to breastfeed, that's fine. This is not to create a stigma around not being able to breastfeed. This is just to emphasize that even WHO, World Health Organization, right, says that if you can, please do breastfeed your baby for at least 2 years, because the kind of long term, like literally, it carries impact which can be seen the child throughout his or her life, right? So breastfeed as much as you can. I mean, of course, you don't want to lose your own piece, but breastfeed as much as you can. Okay, until 1 year of age, follow the no salt, no sugar rule. What does that mean? That means till your child is 1 year of age, you're not supposed to, even after you start solids, you're not supposed to give any salt or any sugar to your child. You can use other spices. You can use your jeera, and you can use your cumin, and you can use, coriander. You can use other spices, but no salt and no sugar. And the reason for that is, this is, by the way, research corroborated. This is not something I'm saying on my own. This is very much corroborated by tons and tons and tons of research, which is not just Western research, but also Indian research. The earlier we start sugar and salt for a child, the more it has been linked to childhood obesity later. Now, you might say, you know what, I was not brought up like this. I was given salt and sugar, and see, I turned out fine. That is okay. You turned out fine. I also turned out fine, thankfully, even though I was given, because see, in our parents' generation, when we were babies, when we were growing up, our parents did not have access. This research does not exist, firstly, and of course our parents did not have access to research. Okay, and so the reason why we're saying this is not some fad, this is not some parenting trend, this is solid research. And the reason why research has found this is because salt, excess of salt, as you probably know, even in an adult or even a child's diet, is a risk factor for high BP later in life. Excess sugar, as you know, is a risk factor for high diabetes later in life. Okay, both of these chronic medical conditions are obviously linked to obesity. Okay, so this kind of I know that in houses where young mothers, I tell young mothers to follow this rule, and they're like, you know what, my mother-in-law doesn't agree and my mother doesn't agree, and they said, no, we brought you up without all this nonsense. But this is not nonsense. This is based on research, and I'm happy to share more resources with you if you want to look at why is this. Because for a lot of people, this is new information. They find it completely fascinating, but this is totally based on research. So if you want, I can share more resources around this with you if you're interested. Okay, but that's what it is. No salt, no sugar till 1 year of age. Now let's see what you can do with your toddlers and preschoolers. 1 second, let me just minimize this. Oh, sorry. Why am I not able to minimize this? Okay, no, something is happening. Okay, never mind. Okay, so what you can do. Okay, now with toddlers and preschoolers, pretty much the problem is that they will not eat, they will take out food from their mouth. You try to offer them anything to them. Okay, they'll be very choosy about the 4 or 5 items that they eat. They will not eat everything, and that's okay, right? That is how nature has made kids. They will not, no self-respecting child will try a new food for the first time that they see, because their evolutionary, their genetics and their evolution is telling them to be wary of new foods, right? So it's fine. And research shows that the more you keep offering the same food again and again and again, the more familiar the child becomes with that food, and eventually the more they're likely to try it, right? So keep offering new food again and again and again. Don't stop offering something. Don't stop buying something just because your toddler's rejected it 13, 14 times. Keep offering. Keep making family food, and keep making those things which are, part of your family diet, and keep offering those foods to your child. Okay. Now the second, and this is a very common mistake that I see parents making. My own husband used to do this, actually still does it sometimes. Whenever you're very happy and your child has done something really cool, you're like, oh, you will get a chocolate. Oh my God, please don't do that. This is basically reinforcing the idea that, oh, chocolate is special, that this food item is special, treat. Okay, and you don't want to give the message to your child that this is supposed to, something as unhealthy as a chocolate is a special treat. What is special treat is actually time with you. What is special is the stuff that you make at home with your own hands, with love. What is special is the extra book that you read to your child at when you snuggle with them at night. That is special treat, not a pizza from outside. I mean, even a pizza made at home is a special treat, right? But basically what I'm trying to say is, in our mind, we are equating all this as special treat, and we're communicating the same idea to our kids. And so therefore these objects become, these kind of unhealthy foods become very, like sought after in our child's mind. And that's actually not a good idea. So we need to break that association and start, like, for example, I'll give you a small example. So it was my daughter's birthday last weekend, and we had thrown her a party. And I asked her, what is it that you would like to serve to your friends, and of course their parents. And she gave me a list of items. So I want pizza, and I want pasta, and I want 3-4 items. And I actually chose to make all that food at home. Was it an extra effort? Of course it was an extra effort. But the message that I'm giving to her is that, you know what, when people come to our house, when we are celebrating a special occasion, we are actually, making this food ourselves. We are making the pizza, and we're making the pasta and all that ourselves, because that is special, right? So, I'm not saying that everybody should do that, or I'm just giving this example to highlight the fact that uh, what gets understood as special treat in your family needs to be relooked at. It helps to reconsider what I and my child considers a special treat. Okay, so yeah. The third thing that I want to emphasize is not labeling food as good or bad. And again, we all do this. We call food as yucky, junk, unhealthy, but instead, and I'll tell you why it's not a good idea to label food as good or bad, because it's not the food that is bad or good. It is how frequently we eat it. Okay, so again, like consistent with what I was saying before, a chocolate, for example. I love chocolates, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I love chocolate. So chocolate is neither a special treat nor it is bad. Chocolate is just chocolate. And how I would refer to chocolate as this: chocolate is a woe food. So this table gives a very good classification of how we can label food. You see on the top, instead of calling food as good or bad, we can use labels as go food, slow food, and woe food. So don't ever teach your child that this food is bad, because you know what happens when we do that? The excitement and the curiosity for these foods increases, right? And we don't want that, right? We don't want our children to see woe foods as special treats, as something that we never get, and so therefore whenever we get them we should grab them. Imagine what that will do to them when they grow up and start, having their own money. They will obviously want to go and buy these food items, because they'll be like, oh, we never got them in childhood, and so we will max it out, right? That's what happens when even with say anything, when our child goes to a hostel for the first time and they become independent for the first time. Okay, so a very good idea to label food is not as healthy, unhealthy, good or bad, but to use the labels go, slow, and woe. And this is only according to how frequently we can consume a particular food. So go foods are foods that we can eat almost anytime. They include fruits, veggies, whole grains, blah, blah, blah. Slow foods are foods which are sometimes food. We can eat them sometimes, maybe once a week. We can eat bread, pancake, fresh fruit juice, and flavored yogurt, processed spreads like cheese, jam, all that. Market jam. These are slow foods. We can use. We can eat them sometimes. Woe foods, whoa, like that, whoa. Woe foods are once in a while foods. Okay, so these are like sausages, ice cream, candy, packaged juice, all your deep fried stuff, namkeens, and all that we get. Okay, so the idea is we don't forbid the woe foods. Instead of forbidding these woe foods, we just teach our child that we can enjoy these foods in moderation. Sometimes, once in a while, yeah, once in a month, maybe, for example. Because the more we deprive now, this is a webinar on childhood obesity, but I'm actually telling you, please do not deprive your child of these foods, because what happens is when we deprive them, so the idea is not to be in either extreme, not to consume them either regularly, and also not to completely ban these foods. I hate the word ban, because ban means that you are actually only increasing the curiosity of your child. And when your child does get to enjoy them, say at a friend's birthday party where you can't control what they're going to serve, or outside when you go to a restaurant, anywhere, or even in school for that matter, if your child's school will have a canteen, the schools will reopen, your child, you'll give $10 to your child to spend in the canteen because they're so excited. Guess what they're going to choose? They're going to choose that something that they don't get, right? So deprivation, we should not deprive our child. Deprivation actually leads to binging, actually leads to eating that food item more, and that actually contributes to this whole disordered cycle of eating. Because, and that's what happens in adults, when you deprive yourself of something that you really like, what happens? When you get it, you eat too much of it, and then you feel guilty, and then the whole cycle of disordered behavior around food is set into motion, right? So let's stop labeling food as good or bad. Let's start labeling it from today as go, slow, and woe. Okay. All right. Let's go back to what we were talking about. Keep healthy snacks accessible. And this is my favorite, and I do this all the time, is that in small dabbas, right? In small boxes, you keep a whole lot of these high fiber snacks. You have carrot sticks, you have homemade ragi biscuits. If you can't bake, that's fine. You can bake nuts, or you can dry roast nuts. You can keep dry fruits, you can keep roasted makhana, roasted murmure, roasted peanuts. You can keep them all in small boxes at a place. You keep offering them to your child, and the child is like, nahi, mujhe nahi khana, I don't want to eat this, right? But you don't offer them to your child. You just keep them in small boxes at a place where your child can easily access them, jahan uska haath asaani se pahunch sakta hai. Okay, keep like a big basket of fruit in the middle of your dining table or living room or whatever. My point is, when we see something like a packet of chips or a packet of biscuits, we are much more likely to eat it. Yeah. In most families where I go, I just see there are packets of biscuits and chips which are visible, right? And so therefore you're more likely to eat them. But fruits are in the fridge. Are, how can the fruits be in the fridge when you want to take them out and eat them? You're much less likely to do that if they're away from your sight. Whereas if you keep the fruits in the middle of a place which is like the central place of your house, your dining table or your living room, your child and you yourself are much more likely to eat them, right? Or cucumber sticks or carrot sticks or whatever. My point is, make it visible, make it accessible for your family. Okay. And the last bit here is ensuring enough sleep and exercise. Now, exercise, of course, it's a no-brainer, right? The one thing that I want to say, the reason why I've written it under toddler and preschooler, even though it applies to literally all ages, right, up till teen, is because at this age, I've seen many parents wanting to enroll their children in sport coaching classes. There's a football class, there's a baddie class, and while that is okay, it's fine. But it is actually equally important to encourage your child of this age, when they're toddlers or preschoolers, to encourage them in unstructured play activities. What are unstructured play activities? Where there are no rules. Yeah. And even if there are rules, like for example, swimming or cycling, there are some rules, but your child has a opportunity to do these activities without any kind of competition or without any, I want to win at this kind of a feeling, right? So it's very important that you give your child opportunity to participate in a variety of fun and challenging physical activities, yeah, which are not competition or coaching classes. There's no structure to them, right? So climbing trees, playing on the playground, dancing, swimming, cycling, anything, right? So it's, especially at this age, it's very important that we encourage that. And sleep. Now, a lot of people might not know this, but in adults as well as in children, if you sleep less, like if your quality of sleep is poor, that actually is a major risk factor for weight gain and obesity in both kids and adults. Okay. And toddlers and preschoolers need at least 10 to 13 hours of sleep each day. Okay. So it's very important that you set regular bedtime, regular wake up time, which means the same time they're sleeping every day, the same time they're waking up every day, including weekends. And you have a relaxing bedtime routine for your child. What do I mean by relaxing bedtime routine? Which means that, by 7 o'clock or by 8 o'clock, you're winding up, which means you're dimming the lights in your child's room, you're changing them into night clothes, you're brushing their teeth, and you're snuggling in bed with a couple of books, right? That is like a relaxing bedtime routine for your child. Relaxing bedtime routine for your child does not mean that you're sitting in the living room, the TV is on, and you tell your child, okay, we'll go and sleep. The problem with watching screen just before bedtime, both for adults and kids, this is not just for kids only, this is equally applicable for adults as well, is that the blue rays that are emitted from the screen, they actually shut down the sleep hormone in our brain, which is melatonin. Okay. The blue rays that are emitted from your devices, right? Your smartphones, your laptops, your TVs, your iPads, whatever gadgets, right, have a screen, they emit blue rays. And that actually shuts down your sleep hormone, which is why if you want to watch screens, you should ideally watch them before, like in the first half of the day or in the afternoon time. And you should switch off all screens at least 2 hours before bedtime. right? So I know, I mean, if that is not the routine that you're following, I know it might be difficult to change, but it's a worthwhile change. It's a very, very effective change if you can bring about this change in your life, in your house. Okay. Now talking about primary or middle schoolers, and this is equally applicable across all ages, huh, by the way. One gadget free family meal per day. Why it's important to ensure at least that one meal in a day you're having together as a family, without any TV or without even mobile being present on the table, is because research has shown that this actually facilitates healthy eating habits in your child, and it prevents childhood obesity. And another beautiful thing that it does is that the one time that is the one time of the day, whether it's, you choose breakfast or lunch or dinner, most of the time it's dinner, but that's okay. I mean, you can even choose breakfast. In my family, it's breakfast, for example. That is the time, when you sit with your child without any gadgets and without any agenda, really, to just talk. And this can be a most amazing bonding time between parents and their kids. This can be a time you share about your day. What is it that you're looking forward to, what is a big challenge for you, or that you tackled with in the day. I mean, it can be just a beautiful conversation time. Okay, so and of course it's having like physical impact, physical benefits, and helping your child develop good eating habits, right? So ensure at least one gadget free family meal per day. Keep offering fruits and vegetables. This is just because your child doesn't eat a particular food, like the most often culprits are karela and vegan, right? It does not mean you should stop buying it. Recently, I had this experience. My children never used to eat tondakai. I'm sorry, I don't know the English name for it because I'm from North, and in North, this vegetable is not even available. So when I came to South, I actually came across tondakai for the first time. And my kids would never eat it, right? I mean, they would be like yucky and this and that. Okay. And recently, I looked up a recipe on tondakai, which is just basically just roasting it without oil, and it makes it super crisp. And I offered that to them and they lapped it up. And I was so happy that, so see, that's what I'm trying to say. If you keep offering something, one, it develops familiarity. But it also, what happens is, don't stop buying a particular fruit or vegetable, because when you buy it, you will look up different ways of making it, right? And that actually, you never know what your child might end up liking. Another experiment that I did was, my kids never used to eat vegan. Okay, and once I got sick of it and I baked it with some tomato, and voila, they actually ate it because I grated some cheese on top, right? So my point is, if you like, instead of like frying it, you bake it. Instead of baking it, you dry roast it, or what. My point is, they change the play with the textures of different vegetables, or even fruits for that matter. Play with them and look up new ways of incorporating them, like something like a spinach, if you can incorporate in chila or in cutlets. So my point is that keep offering. Don't stop buying something just because your child rejects them, because eventually your child will become familiar with them, right? Okay. And of course, not stocking up on the woe foods at home. The one of the biggest contributor to our weight issues is all these processed foods, which is your biscuits. Anything that comes out of a packet which you can consume directly is a processed food. Okay. Because the way these are factory produced, mass produced, they have a lot of preservatives, they have a lot of chemicals, they are stripped of their nutrients, and they're simply bad for our bodies. Okay, these are the things which are designed to last during long periods of storage and shipping, right? They don't go bad. Anything that does not go bad easily is something that we need to be wary of, which is a woe food actually, right? Okay, so don't stock up on them at home. When your guests come home, don't offer these, because again, we're reinforcing the idea that, oh, this is special, so that's why we offer them to our guests. You should offer healthy food, the go foods to our guests, right? That's the idea, right? And yeah, so if you, and another thing what happens is that I know that these are once in a while foods, right? uh, Another danger in offering woe foods regularly is that our children develop then craving for them. The taste on the tongue that you develop in childhood, they say it lasts throughout your life. there is truth to that, because research corroborates that. Research corroborates that, that craving for a specific type of food, whether it's sweetish or savory food or whatever, it does develop in childhood. So that is why we always encourage parents to give a variety of food tastes, to expose their child even before 1 year of age. When you start with solids, between 6 months and 12 months of age, you should actually try to introduce as many new foods to your child as possible, because of this reason. Your child's palate will broaden. The variety of food and tastes and textures that they get to enjoy their whole life, will that window is actually early childhood, right? So make sure that you're offering like a whole range of food items to your child, and doing it yourself for yourself as well. So modeling good eating and exercise habits is actually very important, because when your child sees you eating go foods, when your child sees you snacking on carrots, they will do that too. But if your child sees you drinking cola, they will also want cola, right? And if you think that this is deprivation, right? Oh my god, how can I stop enjoying my cola, right? So you just need to remember one thing, that the habits that you set up for your child in childhood are the habits they're going to fall back on without even consciously realizing it, throughout their life. And the first test of this is usually when your child steps out for college, when they join a hostel. A lot of kids actually gain weight at that time, because you know what, they're like, oh, now I'm now I have a free reign, now I can eat anything that I want. And they start pigging out on what we call as woe foods, right? And so that is why I'm saying that don't create an atmosphere of deprivation in your house, but it's a good idea to generally effect a change in your house, which is a change for good. You're adopting good habits for yourself, and those good habits become like a legacy for your child, right? So this is not deprivation, and this is not something that you're doing to punish yourself or to your child, but this is just something that you're doing to increase the health of your family, the vitality and the good looks, right? I mean, your skin will shine more if you reach out for that bowl of carrots instead of reaching out for a packet of chips. And of course, I mean, for your child, you're doing a favor to them, which will hold them lifelong in that stead, right? I mean, this is not just for food, this is for exercise as well. If you enjoy being outside, if you enjoy moving your body, your child will too, right? But if all you're doing is sitting at home and plonked in front of your couch, that's exactly what your child will learn as well. Okay. Yeah. For primary and middle schoolers, again, this is the age when you can start enrolling them in structured sport activities. So they need a lot of physical activity. Every child needs regular physical activity, but specifically for girls, I mean, I know parents, I mean, unconsciously we encourage our boys more for sports and not so much our girls, but even for girls, equally involving them in sports, enrolling them in some kind of coaching classes actually really helps at this age, because of many reasons. I mean, of course, the health is definitely, and health, fitness, and all that is definitely one reason. But research has shown when girls get involved with sports, they have a healthy attitude towards their own body for the rest of their life, right? And also, research has shown that when kids find a sport that they love when they're younger, they are much more likely to stay fit throughout their life, right? And it's very important the way you talk about sports in your family, right? If you or exercise, if you say, I'm doing exercise because I want to reduce weight, that is not a good way to think about exercise. A good way to think about or talk about exercise to your child is, we are doing exercise because it keeps us healthier and happier. It helps us, makes us more fit, and it helps us enjoy life much more, because if we are healthy, we can enjoy life. If we are not healthy, we can't enjoy life. But to say that, we're doing exercise because we want to reduce weight is actually a very, very wrong way to think about it yourself and to tell your child as well. Okay. So, right. Another thing that I want to mention before I go to teens is this. Don't talk about dieting. Suppose your child is already a little overweight, right? It is not a good idea to tell them, you know what, don't eat this, don't eat that. I mean, those are the changes that you have to anyway make at home, right? As a family, not just for your child, not singling out your child and saying, oh, this is not a good idea. So dieting actually doesn't work, right? Because again, I talked about feelings of deprivation and longing, right? Feelings of deprivation and longing, actually research has shown it causes more binge eating. So dieting actually never works, it fails. Okay. And it actually also, dieting changes our body chemistry. So dieters actually almost always regain the weight. Okay. But also losing all that weight the next time becomes even harder because of the changed body chemistry. So dieting is never a good idea. Only long term healthy eating and exercising helps. So don't talk, even if your child is on the higher side, do not talk about dieting, do not encourage dieting. Eat healthfully as a family. Make exercise an automatic part of your life as a family, not just for your child, as a family. And help your child lead a healthier life in general, and not just, oh, I want to lose 5 kg before this event, or I want to fit into this dress. Is not a healthy way to talk in front of or to your child. Okay. Again, related to this for teens is your own attitude towards your own body. And I hope all the parents listening to this, I hope you love your body no matter how it looks in the mirror. You don't have to be stick thin. I know that most of us are influenced by our cultures. It's not actually our culture, it's a Western culture. Our culture encouraged, more fuller bodies, right? So a lot of us are obsessed with or influenced with Western cultures, this whole standard of beauty, thin and don't even get me started about fair. But we're all kind of like, I should be like this, my hips should be this much, my tummy should be like flat, and we judge ourselves really harshly. And our kids are seeing this. Our kids are seeing the kind of things we say to ourselves standing in front of the mirror when you know when and this happens to when our kid puts on a little weight, right? All our self judgment kicks in, and we sort of say that, we start to worry that our child will have a lifelong struggle with our gait, with their weight, right? So it's not a good idea to make these statements about your body or your child's body to them. To develop a healthier relationship with your own body, you have to love your body. You have to fall in love with your body. There is no other way that your child is. I mean, even if you don't say anything, your attitude towards your own body, your child will definitely know. That whether you're ashamed of your body or whether you cherish your body. Your child, whether you without you saying a word, your child will know how you regard your own body, and that is something that your child will also carry as a legacy, right? So perpetuating the feeling that my body is not good enough, or the feeling of shame towards the whole body or any part of your body, it's not a good idea to perpetuate that onto another generation. And so be very mindful of the way you treat your own body, right? Also, it's never a good idea to comment on your child's body, like, oh, you're so fat, you're so thin. Actually, even positive, so-called positive statements like, oh, you're so thin, is not a good idea because you're sending the message that physical appearance is important, that your weight is important, right? Or if you constantly are commenting, you're watching TV or flipping through a magazine or social media, and you're always saying how thin someone looks or how fat someone looks, your child learns that body shape is important. Body shape is what's important, and not what you do with your body, right? How you what kind of lifestyle and diet you follow and all that, right? And your child will also feel that, if you keep commenting on other people's bodies, which we do, right? I mean, we are always commenting on celebrities, and Aishwarya Rai gained 5 kg. I remember there was such a brouhaha about it. It's such bullshit, right? Because you're not supposed to talk like that about other people's bodies, right? Even if they're celebrities. So when we do that, right, in front of our kids, they feel that that body shape is important, that your child will always be judged by her body shape, and that people are always looking at her body, and she will start to develop all these feelings of shame or inadequacy, or, oh, I've noticed I'm getting heavier, kind of thing. So it's not a good idea to comment on people's bodies, right? And of course, I mentioned this in fact in the beginning, that a lot of children and even adults who are not able to manage their feelings of distress, right? They'll reach out for, what we war foods, right? What we should not reach out for if we want to express our pain or our distress. We should not be eating ice cream if what we're feeling is pain. We should not be reaching out for deep fried namkeens if we're bored. We should not be reaching out for all these food items to help us manage our own stress, right? We should actually develop and help our child develop better ways of managing their emotions, better ways of managing their stress. And that is why, if your child is more likely to um, eat to soothe their upset if you do that, and that makes them more vulnerable to even eating disorders. I don't know how many of you know about eating disorders. There's anorexia, there's bulimia, there's binge eating also, actually. So if you are a person who has a hard time expressing emotions in words, I would seriously recommend that you start by either journaling, writing down your thoughts and feelings in a journal, or you start talking to somebody you trust. It can be somebody in your family, it can be somebody who's your friend, it can be even be a counselor or a therapist. Okay, because it is very important to develop effective ways of managing your feelings, your big feelings, right? To decrease the stress levels in your life, in your child's life, because these are directly related to how our body gets impacted. Stress directly impacts our body. In fact, diabetes and BP are in fact known. Stress is one of the known causative factors, right? There's a cause effect relationship that has been established with these lifestyle disorders, and even like something like a myocardial infarction, right? A heart attack, right? So people actually now get what happened to that Siddharth Shukla, right? People have actually now at a very young age started getting heart attack because of stress, right? So learning to manage stress is actually one of the biggest life skills that we can learn and we can teach our kids, right? So it's related to how our physical body behaves as well, right? Okay. And finally, accept your child exactly as he or she is, which means that never in any way communicate to your child that you think that he or she would be more acceptable or prettier or more lovable if he or she had a different body shape. Okay, we always need to communicate that what matters is who we are inside. Yeah, what matters is the choices we make about how we are, like, how we show up to our friends, our family, to ourselves. What skills we develop, that is more important than really how we look. And every child needs to be loved unconditionally, irrespective of you know the shape of their body or their weight, right? And this is yeah, the final point that I wanted to emphasize. Yeah, I hope you all understood things that I said. If there are any questions, I would like to take them. And here's a little quiz for all of you. Okay, I want you to tell me which of these foods are go foods. Okay, maybe you can. What I'll do is I'll switch on my video so that I can see all of you as well. Okay, I think I can see most of you. But the point is, what you can do is you can type in the chat which of these foods are go foods. You remember go foods? We talked about go foods. Go foods are foods which are almost anytime food. We can eat them every day, and they are really, really good for our mind and body. So, which of these foods are actually go foods? Are you typing in the chat? Vegetables. Okay. Can I please show the last slide again? Which last slide are you referring to, Neha? I have no idea. Vegetables, fruits. Okay. Fruits. Very good. What else? Milk. Very good. What about brown rice? Very good. Brown rice, water. Very good. Very good. Very good. Awesome. Which of these are slow foods? Slow are sometimes foods. Slow foods are foods that we should eat maybe once in a week. Very good. White bread is a slow food. What else? Lakshay, this it will be available on Katula Health's YouTube channel, if I'm right, Priya. This session, the recording will be available on Katula Health's YouTube channel. I think Priya will be posting the link for that at the end. Pasta, very good. Pasta is a slow food, yes. Packaged juice, no. Packaged food is actually, packaged food, juice is actually a raw food. And I mentioned that in the beginning. The reason is because it's packed with sugar, even if the, even if the, it says zero sugar. No, please don't get fooled by that. That's all advertising. Packaged food is, packaged juice, sorry, is a raw food, which means very, very infrequently, maybe once a month or something, because it is loaded with sugar and also preservatives, by the way. Even if the packet says no sugar and all that, please don't get fooled by it. It's not possible that they can give you a fresh fruit juice in a packet. It definitely has chemicals and preservatives. It's definitely a raw food. Okay. Come on, slow foods. Only one response, pasta. Butter, very good. Very, very good. Absolutely. What if I were to tell you that cookie can be a slow food? Fried chicken, I would call it a raw food. See, fried chicken, that's a good one. Now, Fatima, fried chicken can be a slow food if you're trying the chicken at home, right? Fried chicken becomes a raw food if you're buying a KFC. If you're buying fried chicken from outside, it becomes a raw food. If you're making fried chicken at home, it's a slow food. And if you're making a curry out of chicken, it's a go food, actually, right? Cookies. Now, tell me, are cookies a slow food or a raw food? Tell me. Or even donut. Remy saying donut. Donuts and cookies, are they raw foods or slow foods? Very good, Harshita. Slow if made at home. Slow if made at home. Absolutely right. And raw if purchased from outside. So once a week, cookies made of ragi can also be go, actually. If you're putting ragi and multigrain and all that, it can be a go food, actually. Okay, very, very good. So you guys get, I'm so happy you guys got the concept. So cookies, anything that you make at home can be go or slow, right? I mean, if you're putting, which I do, I make cookies at home for my kids, and even make donuts at home for my kids, but my donuts are baked, not deep fried. And I do that once a week. I make it a slow food, and I don't use flour. I used atta. Okay. And I obviously put a lot of fruit and all that in it. So yes, if you make something at home, it becomes a go or a slow food. And if you're buying the same thing from outside, because the problem with buying things from outside is, one, you don't know what medium they're using, what good quality. Do you really think it'll be good quality butter or oil? Obviously not. Then secondly, how many chemicals and preservatives they're using. You see the donut there, it looks so tempting, huh? Pinky, sparkly, the sprinkles and all that. But you know what? I've actually done a course in baking, and I realized while I was doing that course, I was not aware of it, that all these colors that they use, right, for making it a pink frosting and all, oh my God, it's just chemicals. It's just only chemicals, right? So it's definitely if bought from outside, is definitely a raw food, right? But if you're making it at home, nothing like it. Okay, great, awesome, good. I'm very happy that you understood all that I was trying to convey and communicate. Now, if I can request you all to, by the way, please do check out my own YouTube channel. It's called The Therapist Mommy. Please subscribe to my channel, help me grow. Please also look up my Insta handle. I share a whole lot of parenting tips regularly. And please now ask me all the questions that you may have about anything that I may have said, or even something that I didn't say today, but you have a genuine parenting question, please just ask me. I'm happy to answer all your questions, and I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah. There were some questions, Priya, on the chat, is it? Were there some questions on the chat? You're on mute.
They were asking actually about the slides and all. Nobody have asked so far, but I'll just read.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry, because this recording will be available on Cartula Health's YouTube channel. So
yes,
this
YouTube
is all recorded.
and we'll be sharing the link at the end.
Yes, great, awesome. Thank you,
we have one question. The problem, it's asked by Miss Huzafa. The problem of breathing is only during sleep, because my son holds his breath often when he cries.
Oh, okay. Holding breath while crying is very common in children. I'm guessing that your child is young is probably a toddler or preschooler. Okay. And what you can do actually is the first thing that you need to do is calm down your child, because they hold their breath because they're very stressed and they're experiencing all those big feelings at that time. And what you should do is basically, what your idea is, calm down your child at that time. Okay. So that their breathing becomes more regulated. And later means after they are feeling calm and they're in a good mood, you should teach your child deep breathing. What is deep breathing? Deep breathing is through a simple exercise of smelling a rose and blowing a candle. Okay, so you tell your child, imagine that there's a rose in front of you, and you demo it to your child. Imagine you taking in the smell of that rose. This is how we breathe in. Okay, and the breath in has to be taken through the nose. The breath out has to be blown through the mouth. And imagine that you're blowing a candle, or even better than a candle is even hot soup. You're blowing on hot soup because you don't want to blow like too hard, right? The soup will splash everywhere. You blow on it slowly. So this way you teach your child deep breathing. And every time your child does get upset, your first job is not to scold, punish, hit, yell, don't do this, don't do that. No, your first job, irrespective of whether your child has a breathing problem, they hold their breath or not, is to calm down your child. And then to remind them, remember, beta, we learned that deep breathing, let's sit and do that. When they do deep breathing in this manner, they will themselves calm down, and then you'll be able to deal with the issue at hand, why the tantrum or the crying spell is happening in the first place. Okay, so that's what you do. Can we start a diet for our kids to help them being healthy? Absolutely no, Shreya. Diet is not a good idea. Well, if by diet you mean you should not cut down on see. Don't call it diet. Firstly, don't call it dieting. What you should do is, in your house as a family. Okay, Shreya, in your house as a family, to make these changes. One, stop buying packaged foods. Stop buying raw foods from outside. Okay, if you want to buy them once a month, for example. Just giving you a ballpark figure. The actual numbers will vary from family to family. You buy them once a month. You consume them as a family. Say that, yeah, okay, we've bought something from outside. Okay, we've ordered in or whatever, and we've consumed that as a family, and that's it. You don't stock up any processed foods at home. And if you want to eat something like a cookie or whatever your child is asking for, you learn to make it at home. Okay, because you will be able to add a whole lot of healthy ingredients to whatever it is that you're making. So the lifestyle change that you have to make is for the whole family and not just for your child. To help them be healthy, you have to be healthy. So do not do dieting. Buy lots of fruits and vegetables and consume them as a family on a regular basis, and involve your child in menu planning. So you give your child that bit of control, right? You're getting your child to call the shots, so to speak. So you sit with your child and say, you know what, let's plan the next week's, or if 1 week is too much, let's plan the next 2 days dinner and lunch. What do you want to eat? Your child will obviously start naming all the food items that they like. So your challenge is now to think about, suppose your child is saying paneer, how do I incorporate paneer in a way that my child likes? Can I make a tikka out of paneer? Yeah, serve it with some really cool dip that I made at home. If your child says, I want to eat, and this is what I do actually. Usually my children say, we want to eat chips. I say, okay, you want to eat chips? What chips do you want to eat? Okay, and they will obviously say, I want to eat the potato chips from the market, right? And so I've evolved a system wherein we actually make it at home. I just chop up some sweet potato and bake it crisp and serve it with a hung curd dip. So it's actually very, very tasty. And now in my family, every time they say chips, it means that. It's become like that. Right. So this is to be done without using words like dieting. We are making a sacrifice. We are giving up on what we love. No, the whole idea is that we are enjoying what we're eating, and that has to be felt within. If you're not enjoying what you're eating, then no amount of dieting can help you. Right. I hope that answers your question, Shreya.
Yeah.
What kind of? Yeah. Sorry. Next question. No.
Yeah, that was a nice question. Even I do have a question with this.
Yes,
So,
yes.
do we indulge them to some exercises or something?
See,
Help
and
them with
again,
weight
Priya,
loss?
see, again, exercise is not a one-time thing. It's not a once in a week we are doing something. It has to be a regular part of your routine, just like healthy eating. So again, if you are not exercising, if you're not doing any kind of walking, yoga, swimming, bad swimming anyway, people can't do because of COVID, but playing baddie or cycling, anything, if you're not doing it, you cannot expect your child to do it, right? If you are doing it, if you are doing it as well, your child will see and do it. And if you're concerned that your child is not getting enough physical activity because of COVID, playgrounds are shut and this and that is happening, do it at home. Who's stopping you? Put YouTube. There are these beautiful channels which are like dance videos, right? You switch that on just for a 15-minute impromptu workout between your meetings. Switch it on, have your child join in. Dance away for 15 minutes. If you dance every day, I guarantee you that your skin will start glowing and you will like it so much that you will want to keep doing it every day. Right? So make it like a regular part of your life, not a one time, once in a while thing. Right?
Thank you
Okay.
so much. And Miss Rimi has asked a question. What kind of vegetables shall we prefer to keep up children's mood?
What does that mean? Children's mood. I don't know what that means. Can you explain, Rimi, what you mean by your question? My answer to this question would be all kinds of vegetables. But what do you mean by keep up with children's mood? I don't understand that. You mean when they say refuse some kind of vegetables? Is that what you're saying? So if they are refusing some kind of vegetables, which they will, it's normal for children to refuse, reject certain vegetables. All you do is, one is, of course, as I suggested, change the texture of that vegetables. Yeah, teenagers go through a lot of mood swings. Of course, even children do, actually. Even my 7-year-old does. So please, it's not just a teen problem, right? So that's fine, right? I mean, they'll I don't want to eat this and I don't want to eat that. Always, when you're planning your meal, right, whether it's lunch or dinner, even breakfast for that matter, always include just one item that your child is likely to eat, even if they don't like the other things. Like suppose if you're making baigan bharta, which a lot of kids hate, they just will not touch it, let alone even trying it. Okay, you make something like a baigan bharta and your child, that your child will not eat it. So instead of forcing it, instead of saying, you know what, eat one bite, taste one, if you eat this you will get this after that, make sure that when you're making baigan bharta, you're also making like a dal, something that your child is definitely like a dal chawal, right? It's something that your child is definitely likely to eat. Okay, but don't stop offering that, don't stop making, and don't stop putting it on the table in front of them, and don't stop eating it yourself as well. Right? Okay, monkey see monkey do. Kids, when it comes to eating, it's totally like that. Our kids will copy us right from when they are just newborn, right? And so keep making, keep offering. And another thing that I've seen in families is we always are giving food to our children. We are always like, kisko bolte na, parosna. We always serve. Please don't do that. Please do not do that. Sit as a family on the dining table and have your child serve food to themselves, whether they are 2 or 12. Even a 2-year-old child can serve the food. And the only instruction should be whatever you put on your plate yourself, you have to finish it. So serve yourself according to your hunger cues. And that is a lesson for life. I'll tell you why. You are serving the food, your child is saying, no, 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 not so much. You're saying, no, 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 eat, eat. We all do this, right? That is a very wrong practice, because what you're telling your child is, I make decisions about your body. I know how much you should eat. Whereas that's completely wrong. You're telling your child not to listen to their bodily cues. Whereas listening to our own bodily cues is the one reason, which is the most healthy way of, if you listen to your bodily cues of when you feel hungry, you eat, when you are full, you stop eating. If you're able to do such a simple thing which nature intended, you will never struggle with any of these problems. Forget obesity, any of the other lifestyle diseases also you will never struggle with, because you have learned to listen to your body. So teach your children that by letting them serve their own food according to how hungry they are. And when I recommend that and parents apply this, they come back and say, but you know what, my child will serve themselves only this much, and later they'll ask for snacks, and that's fine. Because if snacks is what they're asking for, you are anyway stocking up only healthy snacks. Remember, you're only anyway stocking up snacks which are go foods. So that's fine. That's fine. That's what they learn, right? That if I don't eat enough, I'll feel hungry later. That's also a kind of learning. But even later, it's not that they're pigging out on woe foods, right? Okay. So I hope that helps you, Rimi. Fatima, my cousin who's 10 years is 65 kg. Let's not talk about weight. She hates vegetables and fruits. She can't touch them at all. How can I make her eat healthy foods? Okay. My biggest tip here would be change the texture of everything that you're offering to your cousin. Okay. She's 10. Okay. She's already a preteen. Okay. So already some bit of a palate setting has happened, unfortunately. But that's okay. Keep change, like something like like a lady finger. Most of the kids will like lady finger, but suppose your cousin is one of the types who does not even like lady finger. What I would recommend you to do is bake it. Bake it with some salt and some jeera and some chili powder. Bake it and see what happens. Bake broccoli and see what happens. If you bake broccoli with garlic and a little bit of olive oil, it becomes yum. It becomes crunchy. And a lot of children don't like that texture of those vegetables that we put in curries because they're boiled, right? They're like a little mishy-mashy. They don't like that. But they like crunchy stuff. So try to change the texture of the fruits and vegetables that you're offering and then see what happens. Okay? I hope that helps you, Fatima. I hope today's dose of gyan has helped everyone. Please reach out to me. Please subscribe to Kartula Health India's YouTube channel and my YouTube channel as well, because our channels are packed with a lot of information, a lot of videos. So I hope you find that helpful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Meghna. It was such a knowledgeable session for us and even for our kids if they're watching this. So thank you so much for your time. And thank you, everyone. You all can download Kartula Health app from the Google Store and can consult with Dr. Meghna and other psychologists and can book a consultation from home. Thank you so much.
Thank you.